girls too nerdy, but when they dance, they be saying, ow.
What up? What up? What up? Shout out to my Blerds listeners. It is your HBIC, your head blurred in charge. It is Ty. And I have to be fully transparent, y'all. Remember how I've been telling y'all that I'm old on the internet. So this is not the first time I have recorded this. I will talk about that in another episode. But for now, I am bringing y'all a very exclusive and special episode of Shout Out to My Blurds. Now, this is content that you all may not be used to from me, and that's okay. If you have kids listening, I don't know why, because usually my episodes are explicit anyway. Get them out of the room. Or if you're just a scary ass bitch that don't want to hear about sex, then just turn it off. Go find something else to listen to. I don't know. We cool? All right. So boom. So listen, just because we're blurs doesn't mean that we aren't sexy, sensual, or sexual. Okay. So like we fuck. I fuck. I
Mhm.
know I haven't had any in 3 years, and that's okay. But that's not to say it's not to say that I can't. I just haven't. But I am a
Mhm.
person who is very sexual, and I have certain people and pages that I follow and keep up with. And one of those is Black Touch. It's spelled BLK Touch. And I mentioned in my episode, Put Your Face in the Space, that I went to this event
Mm.
in Atlanta that was being put on by Black Touch. And it was called the Reclaiming Black Sex Art Show, and it was a dope time. I'm definitely gonna go back if they do it again. And during that event, I beheld a gentleman who I have mentioned several times on this very podcast because I was completely captivated by his performance. And since then, I have been manifesting. Y'all know this. I have been manifesting having him on the podcast. Well, y'all, the time is here. The time is now. And before I go any further, I want to bring in this very special person into the episode to introduce himself. So I want to give a warm shout out to my blurds. Welcome to the incredible, magical, sexy, nerdy, devilishly handsome, dope as fuck, Sir Marvelous.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you for
Uh,
coming back. Thank you for doing this. This is like really huge for me.
yeah,
I mean that. So please
yes.
introduce yourself to my listeners.
All right. Well, my name is Sir Marvelous. I am a professional dominant. I am located in New York City, soon to be expanded to Atlanta. Um, Basically, what it is that I do is that I'm the perfect person to come to if you're interested in learning about kink, BDSM, exploring different versions or alternative versions of pleasure. I am a pleasure coach and an intimacy coordinator. So I do a lot of different things, but it's all in the realm of kink because I truly love the idea of teaching people, especially people of color, that kink isn't some crazy white people shit. It's not degrading, it's not painful, it's not abuse or anything like that. It's consensual, it could be sensual, it could be pleasurable, and it can rock your world as it relates to building arousal within the body and, stimulating and leading to some of the most powerful orgasms and connections you can ever experience. So I'm excited to share with you guys today some of the things that I've learned on my journey, some of the conversations that we've had thus far, and just answer any questions that might be on your mind that you were afraid to voice. So I'm super excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna get right into the questions. And I might go in the same order. I may or may not mix them up just depending on how the conversation goes. Um,
Yes.
but I do like to get into people's origin stories. And so I want to know just a little bit about your origin story. What were you like as a young person growing up in the Bronx? And
Yes.
kind of what kind of stuff were you into? What were your interests back then? What were you like?
So I was raised by my grandmother's sister, who was basically my great aunt, but I refer to her as my mom. But for those who are strangers, I refer to her as my grandmother because it's just easier on the eyes to to understand. But the point of me saying that is that I was raised by her. her in a very Christian home. We went to church damn near 3 days a week, minimum two. So we went on Saturdays for Saturday school, Sunday for obvious church, and Wednesday for Wednesday night prayer. And I grew up in that household in that order until I was about 9 years old when she had her first stroke. And after that, I transitioned to another household, which was very, very different. And uh, I had some life experiences where I was acting out and being or pretending or following people that weren't the best examples for me that led me into a lot of trouble. And I ended up going into a juvenile detention and having, some experiences there that really changed my life. I really feel like I met a person who installed in me the power and the value of, leading with my intelligence, thinking with an open mind. And, it just so happened to be a very beautiful woman that worked in that particular jail. And it was an incredible experience because, like most young teenage boys, we're motivated by beauty, women in general. And that kept me going as far as like wanting to impress her with my intellect because she was basically like the I guess you could say the psychologist for the jail, for the juvenile detention. And, she would meet with all of us and really try to, help us open up our perspective on life and the things that we could be doing to better ourselves. And she would share books and different reading articles and things of that nature. And I've always been a big reader. I've always been a big nerd in spite of, me acting out and getting into trouble at that particular age. So fast forward, I actually get out of there and I go to live with my sister who basically is like, if you plan on staying with me now that you're out of this trouble, you're going to have to change the way you act, change the way you move, change the way you dress. So
Mm,
I wanted to bring that up because a big part of my brand now is based on the way that I carry myself, the way that I articulate myself, the way that I dress. And I have a lot to thank for my sister for being that person. When I came to her, I was wearing 4X white tees with Timberland boots and big dicky pants, thinking I was somebody I wasn't.
yeah, the
And
early 2000s of it all.
yes, early 2000s, right. And, she's like, "No, you're gonna have to get it together. You're gonna have to wear, more dress clothes because you are going to attract the energy that you look like. So if you're looking like a hoodlum, if you're acting like, that, then that's the type of energy you're gonna attract." And, I was reluctant at first, but I got into wearing the button-ups. I got into wearing the slacks, and she was sending me to public school dressed like this, even though we didn't have a, uniform. And at the time, it just felt like torture. It felt like torture to be a teenage boy in the inner city going to high school with slacks on while everybody else got Jordans and this and that and all these different things. But I learned over time to make it my own, to take my clothes in a little bit more, make it more firm and more form fitting to me and my body. And she's always installed in me the importance of like how a man smells and the way that he carries himself. So that's where the cologne and all of these things come on. So now fast forward, you have a little bit of understanding of how the style started to develop. Now, I said that I was actually, I mentioned that I was inspired by the psychologist that worked in a jail. And when I came home, my mindset was very different. I was realizing that the things that used to interest me were no longer interesting to me because I got used to the conversations that her and I had. For if you haven't figured it out by now, I had a really major crush on this woman. Nothing inappropriate happened, but it was enough inspiration to keep me wanting to not be in trouble and to impress her with the conversations that we would have. And now I'm back home in the high school that I, once went to, and I'm realizing that I wanted a different type of woman. I wanted to manifest somebody that reminded me of her, somebody that would appreciate the poetry that I was writing based on the stories that and the books that she was sharing with me and things of that nature. So I manifested a woman that was quite older than me at that time. And I was dating her and we were having sex and I found myself orgasming sooner than I wanted to. It seemed like soon as things started to get good, that's when it was over for me. And I wanted to change that, so I went on Google and I looked up different ways that I can last longer in bed, advice for men, and you know how Google is, it sends you down a rabbit hole of all the things,
Mhm.
even related to what you're Googling. And I came across these articles on axemen.com where women were speaking about, even though it was axemen.com, it was excerpts from like women and other articles that were speaking about women's experience and the orgasm gap as it relates to pleasure when they're having heterosexual sex. And a lot of these women and the stories that I was reading were women that were married for multiple years, and complaining that they were not able to have an orgasm because of whatever the reason was at that moment, and the only way that they were able to secure an orgasm for themselves was to use a vibrator, to
Mhm.
use a sex toy. And I kept seeing this over and over. So I decided that I wanted to get one. So I went down. Mind you, I'm not even fully 18 years old at this moment. I went down to a sex store in the village of New York City, and I stood outside with, with some cash in my hand, trying to gather the courage to ask the next person that walked in, could they buy me a sex toy? So they did, and he came out with, like, this random vibrator. I didn't even know what it was. I was too afraid to even open it outside, so I waited till I got all the way home pretty much to finally figure out what it was and how it works. And, I guess I was just trying things, and the next time that me and my partner engaged, I decided that I wanted to use it on her clitoris while I was penetrating with her with my penis. And, she started having so much experiencing so much pleasure. She was so enthralled in what she was experiencing at that moment. She started having orgasms prior to me even caring or knowing much about, the woman's orgasm. I knew that this was something she hadn't experienced just based on her reaction. And I was so entertained by that.
Mhm.
I didn't even think about coming. I was just like, oh my God, this is like the best movie, the best experience ever. I'm the man. It's just doing things for my ego and all of the things. And at that moment, I realized, I said to myself, I need to learn more about sex toys.
Mm.
I need to buy more sex toys because if I can use this random toy that this guy bought me from, imagine what it could be like if I decided to be more intentional. So it took me a while before I ended up buying more, but I knew from that moment it would happen. So over the next couple of years, I acquired more and more toys and learning about different things, researching things and things of that nature. And, you know, as I'm doing all this research, I'm also having, open, unapologetic conversations with my friends, my family members. I'm a nerd, so like how we are. When we learn something, we want to share it. Don't give me permission to talk. Yo, let me show you what I've been looking at.
Right.
And so I guess I developed that personality or that persona of being that person that's always talking about sex or pleasure or this or that. So believe it or not, my first time going to a swingers party or a sex positive party, that is was I was kind of like dragged in there without giving known of what it really was going to be because a friend of mine thought it would be perfect for me. And that's how I ended up going to my first swinger party. Wasn't that great because the crowd wasn't for me, but there were beautiful people, I mean, kind people, beautiful people inside and out, but they were just not in the age range in which I wanted to engage in. They were very, very much older. But my second party was better. Somebody else took me to another party. I don't know why people thought I was the perfect person to a sex parties, but I guess I do now when I think about it in hindsight, right? And then that led me on my journey of wanting to learn more about sex positive spaces. And I finally stumbled upon a place that ended up having a bit of kink and swing to it. So, for those who are not familiar with kink, I like to look at kink and freaks very similar, but the one main difference is freaks tend to be open minded. Freaky people tend to be open minded to trying different things and doing different things. Kinky people want to understand
Mm.
and try,
Mhm.
right? We want to learn the science behind it, how we're going to remain safe. We want to dive deep into the terminology and all the things that have to do with the knowledge surrounding what it is that we are trying to engage in. So when I got into this kink slash swing space, I saw this professional dom named Sir Daniel performing, and similar to how you looked at me when I was performing, I looked at him like, oh my God, with one caveat being, I got a lot of that stuff at home. And that style reminds me of mine. I never thought about putting on a show at a party before. And I was just like, oh, I gotta try that. I'm gonna do some variation of that. I made up my mind that I wanted to, move in that direction. And exactly what I did. When I set my mind to do something, I do just that. So the very next party I had a little bag of, goodies with me, some things, and I started to put on a little bit of a show, and it grew and it grew and it grew over the next couple of years of me doing that. I went from being just a guest at a party to being an anticipated guest at a party to being invited at parties to being paid to go to parties to performing, and then um also taking on private clients that wanted to have experiences outside of those parties as it relates to BDSM and kink and things of that nature.
Mhm.
And fast forward, it was the evolution of what's has become to, be Sir Marvelous and Marvelous Things Entertainment. And I don't look back because, it truly feels like I'm doing something that I love. And the statement of, when you're doing something you love, it doesn't feel like work.
Mhm.
And it's been on a journey of exploration and trying different things and meeting people, connecting with people like yourself, many other organizations like we're going to speak about that soon. But man, just thinking about how far it's come, it's like it makes me want to cry at times.
Absolutely, because it's
So
an incredible story. It's an incredible just
yes,
how you got from point A to even, where you are now. And so I
yeah,
think it's inspiring, quite honestly,
mhm,
because for me, what I hear when you tell that story is perseverance. I hear transformation. I
yeah,
hear interest, and our interests
mhm,
can take us so far. And then too, what I love is that, you were having conversations with people and providing education at the same time. Because I know during
yes,
our coaching, there was a lot I learned from you, including just having those open conversations and
right,
communicating what it is you like, because not a lot of people do
yeah,
that. And so you could be a grown person, you could be somebody who's married, like you
mhm.
mentioned, and still not be satisfied or not even be at the level you could be sexually because you're
Or
not
don't you feel
communicating.
safe enough to say, right? Because you don't feel like you're in a safe space to communicate the things that you feel where you are. And
Mhm.
we talk about creating safe spaces both psychologically and physically, but it takes practice, it takes diligence, it takes consistency, and showing a person not only is this space safe now, but it's always going to be a space for you to be able to express yourself. So that's what I really want more of the world to take in and to learn from kink and BDSM as a whole, the importance of being able to create those spaces where we can just talk and it doesn't feel like criticism. It doesn't feel like, the end of the world if something doesn't go your way or if somebody says that you could be doing something a little bit better. And,
Right.
I got to learn from that myself, definitely.
Mhm. Absolutely. So I'm actually going to blend my next two questions because
Okay.
Um, you mentioned kink and BDSM, and
Yes.
then even with Black folk and brown folk, and our approach to it is very different. So I would love for you to speak on just let my listeners know what BDSM is, but
Mhm.
also how do you believe how Black and brown folks practice kink and BDSM differs from the mainstream, and why?
That is an excellent question. So we do everything different. Our culture allows us or inspires us to dance different, to dress different, and to move different. The way that we make our food is different. We really start to shine in those different ways. And it's also going to trickle down into the way that we, approach intimacy and pleasure and kink and BDSM. You know, um, Also, I've learned through my experiences that we tend to um, be attracted to or turned on by polarity, and it could be basically the opposite of what you're used to. So for those who are normally bosses and controlling, situations in most other elements of their lives, when it comes to their sex, they want to feel like for the first time they're being taken care of. They're
Mhm.
being prioritized. They don't have to, lift a finger or to overthink or things of that nature. But also like think about the psychological aspects of what we deal with as a people, in this world where we are constantly judged, we are constantly abused, we are constantly raped and taken advantage of, not like physically. For some, unfortunately, that's the physical reality too. But I mean, just mentally and culturally, we're raped
Right.
and we are taken advantage of and taken for granted and degraded in so many different ways. And we're fighting constantly to get in and to improve that look, not only the way that people look at us, but the way we look at ourselves. So when it comes to kink and pleasure, the last thing we want to do is be degraded. The
Mhm.
last thing we want to do is be abused and taken advantage of and all of those things because like I said, we crave polarity. We want a safe space to be able to feel what we don't feel in other aspects of our lives. So when we approach kink and BDSM, we want sensuality, we want connection, we want a feeling of softness, of pleasure, of buildup, of appreciation, of worship. Put me on a pedestal. Because the
Yes.
world has been trying to take away my pedestal for so long. You
Come
know what I
on.
mean? Let me know I'm in a place where I can be who I want to be, who I deserve to be. And that is the way that we approach it. So a lot of the times you only see the person's perspective of what kink and BDSM looks like. They are usually, historically speaking, been in positions of power where they ran so much shit. They're usually the ones doing the degrading, doing the stomping, doing the taking advantage of others. You understand? So the idea that they want to experience something that they don't get to experience in their day to day or their lives or their historical spiritual background, so to speak. When you see them on television, you see them being degraded, you see them acting like animals or acting like, and I'm not here to to yuck anybody's yum.
Mhm.
There's room for everyone, but the majority of us
Mhm.
are not going to be gravitate towards that type of experience, and that is what really blocks people from thinking that they BDSM and kink can be for them, because the only representation that they see of it is the white man's perspective, the white man's
Right.
approach to it. And that's why I wish more people see people like myself perform, Sir Daniel perform, and many other black and brown performers as it relates to pleasure itself.
Mhm. Very good. Yeah, I completely agree. Just I was having that conversation with my friend where we were talking about the difference, or I asked her if she thought there was a difference, and
Mm.
she wasn't sure, and I said I believe there is, because we are just so, the way we
Yes.
walk, everything about us, the way we cook our food, the way our grandmamas be making our cakes, like
Yeah.
it's just so ingrained for us to do something different, and that includes kink
Yeah.
and BDSM. And everything I've seen, I've actually absolutely loved, because I've, at least in the past year, I've been awakened by seeing just a whole nother side of our expression as Black people. So,
Yes.
I think that's dope. And now can you get a little bit deeper into, just what BDSM is?
Okay. So BDSM is an acronym that is basically an umbrella term that covers so many different ways that we can approach pleasure and intimacy. Um, so the word or the letter B in BDSM stands for bondage. And I like to give examples of bondage before people say that that may not be for them. An example of bondage are people who can enjoy the idea of being physically and or mentally restrained by someone that they trust, right? And there are so many different types of pleasures that a person that likes bondage play or even role play can engage in. It could be as simple as hand restraints or rope for decorative purposes. As you know, I have St. Andrew's crosses all over my dungeon.
Mhm.
But if you are someone who loves the idea of having your hands pinned down while your lover makes love to you, feeling that body to body as they're using their body to pin you down, as they show you that they desire you, that is a form of bondage. And being with someone that you trust and exploring different ways that you can tap into that is what bondage play is all about. Also, it gives you an element of feeling like that this person, you can rely on this person to take care of you in that particular moment. It does require trust, it does require negotiation, it does require understanding of how you're going to engage in things. But when that is there, you go to a place where you feel empowered and excited about trying on different bondage opportunities and exploration. So that's what the B on BDSM stands for. The next letter is the D, right? So D stands for discipline. So in BDSM, we have different types of dynamics that allow each partner to hold each other accountable in different fun ways. So you have dynamics that the most common dynamic is like the dominant and submissive dynamic. So let's just use that one for an example, right? The idea that I I am going to be someone's dom means that to some degree I'm going to hold myself accountable for the things that they want me to do, and I'm also going to hold them accountable for the things that they want to do, right? And it's like having an accountability partner as it relates to discipline, and we're able to punish or funish is the word we prefer to use in King,
Mhm.
our partners for not holding up their end of the bargain, right? In a fun way. We're not here to abuse someone and say, oh, you didn't do XYZ, so I'm gonna put the hammer down, so to speak. No, but let's say, for example, you're writing a book, or you said you wanted to continue to write, you wanted to write a poem a week, or you wanted to go to the gym, or you wanted to work on your business, or you wanted to eat right or stop drinking soda or things of that nature. You can actually put that in an agreement with you and your partner to hold each other accountable. And let's say you didn't do it. Well, now they could find interesting and fun ways to punish you with things that don't harm you, that don't hurt you, but like, oh man, I don't want to do this right now. But you're right. I did say I would do XYZ. And it could be sexual, and some things are not going to be sexual. The most common example of punishments are spankings, you know.
Mhm.
But before people get triggered with the idea of I don't want to be spanked, because they're thinking about the way that some parents might have spanked someone, or the way that a fraternity or sorority spanks someone when they're trying to pledge. That's not what we're referring to when we refer to spankings. We're talking about rhythmic, intentional spankings where we're combining kisses and rubs and love and banter and, music and, things of that nature to really make the experience a journey where we are stepping into some realms of intensity, but it's not necessary. It's not necessary. Again, it's going to be a mixture of like pleasure and pain, because at the end of the day, I do want you to remember this moment, because the next time that you put something on your list that you want to do, you want to hold yourself accountable, right? It's kind of like, when if you're on a sports team and your coach tells you to run laps because you were late for practice, right? That's not you. The laps are actually good for you. You're building up your cardio, you're working on your legs. It's actually a benefit to you. But do you feel like doing it at the moment? Absolutely
Right.
not. Because you'd rather be doing something else. And so it's the same thing when we think about punishments and holding each other accountable. Just imagine if every time you did something that you were supposed to do, you were rewarded. Imagine the dopamine release. Imagine the appreciation. Imagine, because us as adults, we live every day doing things that we're supposed to do, and nobody says, "Great job."
Mm. Mhm.
You pay your bills, you take care of your children, you take care of your family members, you take care of people at work, all of these things, and we rarely get thanked. We rarely get recognized.
Mhm.
You know, we desire that. Deep down, most of us desire recognition. Most
Yeah.
of us admire or desire the idea of just somebody saying, "You're doing a good job this week. I did this for you. I planned this for you.
Mhm.
This piece of cake is for you, or this rub. Come here, let me rub your feet because I've been seeing you work. I've been, and it's a way for us to hold each other accountable, because everybody could say a lot of the things that we do to reward people in kink are things that people do in their regular relationships. You don't got to be kinky to do those things. But I do think there is some value in being able to see how much you've been doing versus assuming. Because
Mm.
we're quick to be like, yo, I rub your feet all the time. But when you really think about it, you ain't rub my feet in a month. Is
Right.
it really all the time? Or, and again, it's not about keeping track, but it's also to some degree of value in doing so. Because, just like every other aspect of our life, when we have a job or a career or a business, there's a spreadsheet somewhere. There's some accountability paperwork
Yes.
somewhere that shows you if you are doing what you said you came here to do. And we don't treat our relationships like that. We
Mhm.
start on a high note where we're doing all the things that make our partners happy, right? And then we get into a space where we start to feel confident and to some degree cocky and comfortable.
And we get
And we think
complacent.
that yeah, we get complacent and we live off the things we used to do.
Mm.
So and discipline and BDSM has a way of, having us check in with one another. Let's create a list of some things you would like me to do for you, things you would like to do for yourself, and let's hold each other accountable in fun ways to do so. So that's what the discipline represents at BDSM. Now, um, BDSM. So the next one is S, right? So S can stand for a couple of different things. It can stand for sadomasochist, right? And that is a term that represents somebody who enjoys receiving pleasurable pain, and someone who enjoys delivering pleasurable pain. I want you to always remember, if you're listening to this podcast right now, I want you to remember that I always add the word pleasurable pain, because the context makes the difference. If I
Yes.
woke up to you and I just spank you on your ass in the middle of you having a hard day or a rough day or just an annoying day, you're gonna want to fight me. And if you own a gun, you might pull your gun out at the same time, you know. But if we are trusted lovers and we're wrapped up in the passion of making love and I'm hitting it from behind and next thing you know I give a nice well-placed spank, that might be the cherry on the cake or the cherry on the sundae that just takes you over the moon,
Mhm.
right?
Come on now.
That's that's the right context, right? You know, if I woke up to you while you again, you're in the middle of work and you're annoyed or you're having a day that's just not the day you want to have, and I put my hand around your throat and just try to choke you, yeah, again, that gun might come out or worse, right?
Mhm.
But if you are with a trusted lover, you know, and y'all are making love, you're sharing that eye contact, he's deep inside of you, or vice versa, and you just put your hand firmly around their neck while they tell you that they love you and how much they appreciate you at that moment while they're giving you that choke and stroke combination, that context feels different,
Mhm.
feels very different. But guess what? Both of those experiences can be defined as painful experiences, right? But the context of it makes a difference. I just spanked you and choked you. In a regular world, that don't work.
Right,
That
right.
don't work. Context made all the difference in the time that I did it and how I did it as well. So there are many variations of how we can play on the pleasures of pain. A great example of that is if those who exercise, those who push themselves at the gym, those who do yoga and stretches, you have to lean into the pain to get to the other side so that you can actually experience some pleasure. When you push yourself and you reach a new PR or a new personal record, and you lift something or you ran something or you did something you never done before, in the moment that is happening, it hurts. But once you get on the other side of that, you're
Yeah.
like, I did that.
Mhm.
I did that. I killed it. Oh my God, I'm on a whole new level. You're not fucking with me. You know, it releases a like level of joy and appreciation for you being able to persevere through something you thought you wouldn't be able to do. But most importantly, those experiences are consensual experiences. You're consenting to working out. You're consenting to doing that stretch. You're consenting to running that marathon.
Mhm.
The type of pain that we don't like is non-consensual pain, non-consensual torment, non-consensual experiences that are not pleasurable to us. When we feel like we're in control, now it becomes something we can grow from and learn from and truly embrace versus, you know, again, when you're getting spanked by a parent or beat up in, you know, a fight or, you know, experiencing something you don't care to be doing at that particular moment.
Right.
And again, there's some real scientific, you know, benefits that can that we can achieve through testing our limitations and pushing what we think our body is capable of in those moments of intensity. So
Mm,
that's what the sadomasochist understands: the person who enjoys that pleasurable pain and the person who likes the idea of walking that person who enjoys it through it as well.
mhm,
So that's what the S can stand for. It can also stand for submission or
mhm,
submissive, right? And I always like to say that my definition of what a person who has submissive desires is all about isn't always somebody who identifies as being a submissive person in life. Remember how I spoke about earlier, we crave polarity?
mhm.
So the majority of the people that I work with are very strong leadership position types of women, right? And they crave the opportunity to go to a space where they don't have to lead. They don't
Yes.
have to do. They don't have to say. They just receive, right? They know what they want. They make it clear, and that's where, you know. For example, you and I will speak a little bit about our session if it's okay.
Of course.
You know, when you had your consultation, we spoke about the things you would like.
Mhm,
When we did our negotiation, we spoke about the things that interest you. So it's important to make sure that the person knows what is within your wheelhouse, what you like, what you enjoy, but at the same time allow that person who's taking that dominant role to say, all right, this is the list of what you like, this is the
mhm.
things that you're open to, let's go create, don't worry about anything, I got you. That's kind of like I'm your travel agent. Tell me, oh, you want to experience some sun, you want to experience some snow, you want to experience, you know, beach, tell me what you want in your vacation and I'll tell you where to go. You
Mhm.
understand? So working with each other, and then you don't got to worry about nothing. Oh, I need beaches and tequila. I got you. I got you. You know what I'm saying? But it could be again more geared towards pleasure and intimacy as it relates to that. So again, it's not about being a submissive person. There are people who love the idea of being submissive in their regular lives, in their work lives, their business lives, and in their sexual lives. That's different. There's nothing wrong with
Mhm.
that either. Majority of people love the polarity that I could be this over here, but I can also be this when I'm over here. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? It's like an escape from your regular world, right? So that's what submission or submissiveness it represents, and so in my definition, and it also represents that in the BDSM acronym. Now,
Mm.
last and finally not least is the M that can stand for masochism and or master, right?
Mhm.
So these are interchangeable words, and I'll be the first to say we need to work on a better acronym. We need to work on a better way of, because even the shortcut, because acronyms supposed to be shortcuts that help and make it easier to remember things, but the reality is had I not explained certain aspects of what these words mean, people would just be just as lost if
Mhm.
I would have just left it at bondage, discipline, submission, masochism. It would have been like, I
Right.
mean, I'm more confused than ever now.
And I
I thought
appreciate
I
you expounding on what they mean.
yes, yes. So for those I mentioned, there are many different dynamics that you can share in BDSM, and this one is going to be a little triggering for some people, but there are slave master dynamics, and I
Mm,
know that could be very triggering for us as Black folk,
mm,
especially those who, have are really, really not about that life as it relates to thinking about the past traumas that we've experienced as Black folks, especially our ancestors and so forth and so on, right? But there is a level of trust and safety that you get when you belong to someone, when you feel like you belong to someone. You can never
absolutely.
truly belong to anyone. Let's be very clear. There are legal things that prevent that, and I would hope that nobody would like to even consent to that. The SM can stand for sadism or masochism. The old term used to be sadomasochist,
Mm,
all in one. But for a better understanding, the sadist is the person who enjoys the idea of delivering that pleasurable pain to our partner, and the masochist is the person who enjoys receiving that level of pleasurable pain. In the olden days, the SM can also stand for master and slave dynamics, and though that could be very triggering to so many people, understanding that when you find someone that you trust enough to explore certain heavier dynamics where you can truly feel like you belong to a person, it can be one of the most intoxicating feelings that you can ever feel. Again, we don't naturally gravitate towards words like slave, master, whips, chains, all those different things for obvious reasons. But we cannot allow the world or the history of this world to rob us from certain experiences as it relates to the things that we genuinely might want to engage in.
mhm,
And this has happened in so many different variations of trauma. It could be as simple as you being kissed by someone you don't want to be kissed by when you were younger, or non-consensual sexual experiences. And now not only do they win by, not winning because they could never win, but not only do they rob you of that experience that you did not want to have by giving you something non-consensual, but also now they rob you of future experiences that you could have because your mind is closed-minded or closed off, or your heart is closed off to experiencing certain things because you feel that that is so tapped into trauma.
mm,
So I say that to say, don't just immediately rule out something because um, you think it's one way. Really try to learn about things and understand things, before we make a final decision on it. And that doesn't mean everything is for everybody. You might read all the things, you might watch all my videos or podcasts or have all the consultations in the world. And when it's all said and done, you say, yo, that's not for me. And that's
mm,
okay. That's
right.
perfectly fine, but truly make educational decisions, or informed decisions rather, before you say something isn't or isn't for you. And definitely don't ever yuck anyone's yum, meaning don't ever make somebody feel bad about something that they're doing safely and consensual with someone else, you know?
Mhm. Absolutely. It's
So,
interesting. So my last boyfriend, from 3 years ago, there were things he would do. And it's not that I
mm,
wasn't open to it, it's just that he would do it and not there was no communication, there was no conversation, there was no he would bite me out of nowhere and I'd be like,
mm,
"What's going?" Because this is not anything anyone's
yeah,
ever
yeah,
done before. Why are you biting me? What's going on?
yes, yes,
And I think it is so important to communicate those needs because now I'm definitely in a place where I'm like, "Oh, that's the shit I'm into." But you
I
can't always just
need a
spring that kind of stuff on people.
yes, yes. Even, that's I'm glad that you actually mentioned that because and I pride myself on my negotiations taking place in person. Most negotiations for BDSM takes place in person. And what a negotiation is basically when you discuss the things that you would like to engage in.
Mhm,
But not only discussing it, my style of discussing it is by giving you a very brief demonstration of what my style is all about. So I
mhm,
could tell you I want to spank you and we could talk about it all day, but until you feel how I spank, even if it's one or two, little small whacks, or you get to feel that rhythm or that attentiveness or realize like, hey, that doesn't hurt at all.
mhm,
I thought when I heard the word spank, I hear this loud popping sound and you trying to, whatever, whatever. And it's like, oh, that doesn't feel as bad as all at all. So my style is really given about that brief demonstration of the things that I would like to engage in, the style and the way that I would like to engage in those things. And we need to do more of that as it relates to wanting to experience things. And even if you don't know all the language to use going into things, at the very least, discuss how things made you feel when it's over.
yeah,
Because maybe he was wrapped up in pleasure. You guys might have, again, been in a space where you loved and trusted each other in that at that time, right? And he got so wrapped up in pleasure, he was like, I want to nibble on her a little bit. At the
mhm,
very least, let's talk about it at the end and
mhm,
say like what brought that about or what's your intention or whatever it is so that I can know moving forward if this is something I truly want to continue to engage in or if it's just not for me at all.
mhm,
But it's an empowerment. And so many of us have experienced moments where people have tried things with us or we've tried other things with other people and we haven't discussed it. And then again, we erase that from our possibility list because we thought it was a bad experience. But was it
right,
really the best foot forward as it relates to that experience? A great example of that is anal sex. So many people are
mhm,
terrified of anal sex, and more of them are terrified of it because they've tried it in quotation marks,
mhm,
tried it, right? And it was painful, it was messy, or some variation of that, or all of the things above. And they're like, never again. But my first question is, how did you warm up to it? How did
mm,
you discuss it? How did you prepare for it? How did you train for it? How did you inform yourself about it? How did you empower yourself before you went on that journey of trying that? You
yeah,
know, guys having conversations about it? Did you read any books about it? Did you watch any videos about it? Like, what was the stimulation leading up to that? About how was the discussion before, during, or after? Because
mm,
if you didn't do those things, then you didn't really put your best foot forward. What happened is this person randomly tried to put a dick in your ass, thinking that it
mhm,
was going to be yes and sexy,
right,
and it traumatized
right,
you.
absolutely.
So,
So,
you
but
know,
absolutely, and I'm glad that you started talking about just your negotiation process. So, as someone who has been to your dungeon, as someone who has gone through that process with you and left with an understanding of what it is I like, what it is I'd like to explore more. I know for me, and we've talked about this, is just with my experiences and my trust. And then you mentioned some traumas that people may be coming in with, and I don't know what it was with you. I don't know if it's because you're well versed and you've taken the time to kind of educate yourself. But I felt so safe. I felt
mhm.
like though we were technically strangers, that was my first time ever meeting you and you would be doing all these things. But I have never felt more safe. And
Mm,
I would like you to please tell me how it is that you build up and maintain
mhm,
trust with folks and
mhm.
why, especially in your line of work, that's important because unfortunately, you do have people who kind of
Right.
get into this life and they unfortunately take advantage of people.
I love that question. So, a part of feeling unsafe is wrapped up in anxiety, or I should say, um, they work hand in hand. Being uncomfortable and anxiety and feeling unsafe all are like twin siblings. But the bigger sibling being, or the more powerful powerful sibling is being the anxiety, and anxiety is being in a space where you are worried because you don't feel like you are in control. You don't feel like you're in control of the outcome that you wish to have, or that there are chances of an outcome not happening. You're so wrapped up in the unknown. And one way that we can really minimize anxiety within the body is to be empowered by information. So the best things to create confidence is to create competence
Mm,
by informing our partners on what it is that we wish to do, how we wish to keep them safe, giving them examples if we need to illustrate those ideas that we have, and creating anticipation instead of anxiety. So we can defeat and we can overpower anxiety within the body and in the mind with creating anticipation, excitement, empowerment, and that confidence. And like, yo, thank you for answering those questions for me. I come from a long background of sales and marketing, and one of the books that I read, I don't remember the exact name of it, but one thing I left with was it's best to answer questions before they're asked.
mhm,
So understanding what the best questions are, the most popular questions are going to be, whether you be a salesperson or you're trying to engage in something. What are the most popular questions that a person may ask? Well, how are you going to keep me safe? What are the things that you want to engage in? What toys do you want to use? How long is this going to go on? Or, like, do I have to worry about it hurting? Is
mhm,
this going to hurt? Things of that nature. Answer those questions before they're even asked, and it gives that person even more confidence, because now they feel like I know I'm working with somebody that actually knows what they're talking about. I'm engaging with somebody that actually knows what they're doing, because I love it. It's like that's another level of like having your needs met without you having to ask. I speak about brats being people who love attentive lovers. They love the idea of someone kind of reading their mind and getting and providing things that they don't want to have to ask for out loud. They
mhm,
want to kind of act up a little bit or act out of character a little bit, and you just know she hungry.
mhm.
You
It's
just need a
true.
kiss. You just need a hug. You need a booty rub. You want me to come and eat your pussy? What you want? What you need? You know what I'm saying?
All
You
of
need
the
some
above.
coffee. You need a blunt. You know what I'm saying? You just want to be able to act up a little bit, and that person just know you so well that they're able to fix you or to help you. Not to say fix, but give you
Mhm,
that feeling of attentiveness, right? And it's the same thing when it comes to empowering somebody. You want them to know, like, yo, like, you're in good hands.
mhm,
And we have to treat intimacy exploration, like we treat all the other things that we explore. When you get on a helicopter ride, they're telling you gotta watch a 15-minute video, 20-minute video in most places before you can even get on that helicopter, because they want you to know what all the safety features are. They want you to know what the plan is, sometimes even who the pilot is in some cases, things of that nature. You know, there's always some variation of how to remain safe, how this is going to work, what you need to know so that you go from being nervous. Because if somebody just puts you in a situation and they're like, just grab on, that ain't it.
right.
That ain't it. I need to know that I'm in good hands. And once I know that, I can go from being nervous, which is not always bad, because sometimes I like to look at the nervous system as something very valuable for our experiences. I'm about to go jet skiing, after I do again my introduction to jet skis and all the things that's going to keep me safe, how to put the life vest on properly, how to start the gear, how to slow down, the best way to turn, all those things. They're going to teach me that. It doesn't eliminate all my nerves. I'm
Mhm.
excited now,
Yeah.
but I'm also anticipating a good time, and
Mhm.
hopefully I could refer back to my training if I fall off this ski board.
Right.
But but yeah, we want to make sure that people feel like, confident. So that's the way that I'm able to alleviate some of those nerves in the body and make a person feel safe. And throughout the experience, I'm also checking in. Hey, what's your color? I'm
Mhm.
also being attentive to see, if you're smiling, if you're laughing, if you're moaning, if you're enjoying yourself, if you're moving. Like, the entire time I'm trying to be as attentive as I can to make sure that you feel safe and protected at that moment.
Absolutely. All right, my next question is actually about your name because and this is something I talked about in the last time we tried to record this is
Yes.
I enjoy close-up magic. What I
Yes.
saw from you and Siphon on that evening was magical. Um
Mhm.
because it's like you think of a magician and kind
Mhm.
of like that's what I think of sometimes when I hear Sir Marvelous. It's like it sounds like a magician, and you're pulling
Yes.
out all your tools and all your things, and you're showing us the next
Yes.
thing, and it's just like, oh my God, holy shit, what's that? So I would like to know how you kind of came up with your name.
So Sir Marvelous is a play off of my name, Marvin.
Hmm.
And Marvelous was not hard to think of after that. Um, but the Sir is something I love the idea of being called, and I believe that I've earned the right to be called Sir in the world of BDSM. Sir is that is it a prefix? I'm sorry if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but it's similar to like when you earn doctor or
Right, you're
what is
right, because you think of,
yeah,
it's not Elton John is not just Elton John, he was knighted, so he's Sir Elton John.
yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. When you earn that title before your name, like if I was a doctor or when I become a master chess player, you got to call me Master Marvin or Master Marvelous. You know what I'm saying? Don't forget the doctor. I went to school for this. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm,
it's the same thing for me. It's to sir in the world of BDSM. I truly feel like I deserve to be called that. To be clear, I don't tell anybody to call me sir, right?
mm,
Unless they feel comfortable doing it. Once you say you feel comfortable, now you gotta tell it you gotta say it the way I want you to say it because you
mhm,
gotta put some respect on that. Don't
mhm.
make sure you always capitalize that S,
Yes,
and
sir.
that's about it. But
Mhm,
but sir also is a playoff of another, part of me like you mentioned, being knighted, right? So, Sir Elton John, I am a big fan of the medieval times. I love the idea of fantasy play, role play that involves me being a knight and Siphon being my damsel in distress that I am rescuing from the arms of danger, and whatever that may be. And I'm taking her to my castle, which just so happens to have a dungeon for all the kinky, beautiful things I wish to celebrate my new damsel in distress that I rescued because the knight gets the woman at the end, right? They
mhm.
don't tell you what the knight does to the woman at the end, playfully. But yes, we have a wicked imagination as it relates to engaging in different forms of pleasure.
Mhm,
So yes, that is one of my fantasies. I'm a huge chess player. The game
mhm,
of chess, it means so much to me. I have it tattooed on my body. Um, and again, I love the idea of being a knight. I love the medieval times. I like the idea of being called sir in the BDSM world. So it's like it means so much to me. And to piggyback off of what you mentioned about the magician part, Siphon refers to me as a sorcerer all the
mhm.
time,
Yes.
all the time, because I literally make things happen with my mind and my hands,
Mhm,
literally. But, as far as the visual effect of what it is that I do, there's a whole nother aspect of looking like a sorcerer or a magician when I'm on stage. We were just watching the scene earlier today from the Reclaiming Black Touch video. This is our first time watching it together, and my first time watching it in entirety. It was saved in a drive. That's a whole nother story. But
mhm.
as we're watching it, I'm like, I'm using a sword to stimulate her body that is doused in electricity.
Phew.
All right. I'm using fire to stimulate her body in front of a crowd of people.
Mm,
I'm using all these different implements to provide stimulation and for whether it be the vampire gloves or the pinwheels or the fire wands or the electricity itself or the sword that I'm combining with the electricity. I use fire and electricity at the same time. I'm not sure everyone understood what was
mm.
happening. They saw it and it was amazing and you could hear it,
Yeah.
but it truly happened, and she was safe the entire time. She
Mhm,
enjoyed herself the entire time. There was another part of the scene where someone else was able to, kinda join in on that scene and kinda piggyback off of some of that pleasure. Like, there was so much that happened during that scene, and that's my regular, day-to-day life. I won't say everyday life, but it's my regular life. There's not a point in time where I'm not ready to just jump into that energy. You give me my stuff.
right.
I said on the podcast the other day, I am looking for a way to wear all of my gear like a Batman utility belt, so I'm always
Nice.
ready to get into it. So,
Yes.
it's amazing, and, a part of my 2024 journey is to become more unapologetic with how I view myself. I
Mhm.
used to tell all the time. It's not so crazy. It's not that big of a deal or any, no, it is crazy. It's amazing. It is beautiful. It is
Mhm.
outstanding. It is different, but I can teach you. You
Yeah.
can learn it. It is not impossible to learn. It's not impossible to understand. But is seeing someone put fire on somebody's skin, their nipples, their pussy crazy looking? Yes.
Mm.
And that's okay.
But it feels
That's
so
okay.
damn good.
Because I had that thought. It feels so good, right?
So good.
So so yes, it is. There are some things that are a little outstanding, out crazy. When some of the most memorable people in this world, that the artists, as it relates to artists, were like they stepped outside the comfort zone of what was
Mhm.
normal,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
stood out, and they're gonna always be remembered for that. And
Mhm.
not one time were they ever like, "No, I'm normal. I don't give a fuck. I am not normal. I'm outstanding. I am marvelous."
Mhm.
And I regret nothing.
Love that.
So that's what my name means to me, yes.
Yes, I love that. And quick question, because you did mention medieval things. Have you ever been
Mhm.
to medieval times?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
What's that
And
like?
it
I
was
know there's one here in Toronto, but I've never been.
it was enjoyable, but if I'm honest, the thing that I wish would change, and we will create something like that one day, or at least experience or be a part of something like that, is I would like a more adult version of it all.
Oh,
It was
yeah, it
very
does
kid.
seem geared towards
It's for
kids.
the children. It was great. They had horses, they had swords, they had knights, they had performances. They serve you food that looks like you're eating in the medieval time. Big piece of chicken, leg, thigh, whatever thing. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Goblet cups and all of the things. Absolutely, it was amazing. But I would like to add a more adult geared
Yes.
entertainment or storyline. I would like I want a story. I want a good story in a fight. Entertain me with,
Mhm.
what's really happening. Make it deep, make it gruesome, make it, kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That nature. And if I could, and I will, not if, one day I will, it's going to be a kinky element to it as well. We've had the pleasure and the benefit of working with Mistress Molly for one of her events called the Castle event. I speak about it all the time. It's one of my most memorable parties ever. I mean, she rented out a castle for kinky folks to be able to spend the night for 3 days,
Oh
breakfast,
my
lunch, and dinner
gosh.
being catered by a chef. Every meal catered by a chef with excursions that we can go off and do other things. There was a pool, there was a movie theater, there was a game room, there was a basketball court.
That
There
sounds
were
so
every
dope.
Yes. There were hidden rooms throughout the castle. Literally, I we found this one hidden room that was so dope that was located in the kitchen cabinet. Like, it was a long, like, cabinet, like
Mhm.
a broom cabinet, and if you'd never opened that door, you wouldn't know that there's a secret compartment behind the hidden wall in the broom closet that
I've
leads to a
always
unicorn sanctuary.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your wisdom, but I've always ever since the movie Clue, I've always wanted to go in a house like that where the rooms kinda lead into other buildings.
Yes,
Oh, it sounds amazing.
yes, yes, and, we were able, and again, this is kinky black and brown folks, and, and it was an event where, there was a lot of sex going on, there was a lot of non-sex going on. Some people were just smoking, chilling, listening to music, eating, watching movies, laid up, it was just a vibe, and if you want to partake in something, if you felt comfortable, you can do that, and it
Mhm.
was safe, and it was not judgmental. People were doing photo shoots. People were doing the most. They were doing challenges on TikTok. It was all types of different things going on. It was everything you could imagine with that sprinkle of kink, and that's what I love.
Mhm.
That's what I love. That's I can't. I That was another thing I used to be afraid to admit out loud. How much I love being in a space where I can be kinky if I want to, even if I don't
Mhm.
want to, even if I want to indulge. I want to know that I can if I
Right.
want to.
Yep.
You know,
That you have
and
the
be and have
option.
right. So when people say, when I think about like what we call vanilla parties or vanilla events, which is basically events that don't have that kinky aspect, I don't really care for them as much as I used to, and I
Mhm.
used to be afraid to say that. I don't like the idea of going to a busy club where everybody's acting like it's a fashion shoot or a fashion, competition, and it's everybody's hookah this and big bottles this and trying to spend all of this money to stand on couches, and I've never been into that as it is, but I definitely am not into it as it is now. I love the idea of going to the spaces that I go to where it's chill. It gives you that Sade vibe. You lay back on a couch, listen to some good
Amen.
music, smoke your blunt, have a little
Mhm.
drinky drink, shake your hips a little bit, and talk to people, have some engaging conversations where you can actually hear each other. But there's also another part of the space that you can go and have a dance party and be relaxing. And if you want to get your pussy licked, you can do that too. It's up to you. You know, it's no pressure. I
Right.
love that element. I love that element of being able to go there and dress up and be Sir Marvelous in my full suit if I choose to, or dress down and come in my comfortable pajamas, or Siphon goes in one of her beautiful, illustrious robes with decorations all over her costume, or she might just want to be there in some beautiful lingerie that she just brought and she's been dying for a place to go to wear this or to be seen in this, to be that exhibitionist that she is, like, and be comfortable.
Mhm.
Be comfortable. That's where I like to spend my time. And if I could, I would spend even more time in those spaces. So,
Amen.
that's what it means to me.
Absolutely. I'm gonna save up my coins because if Mistress Marley ever does that again, like, I have to go.
Yes. Oh, it's without a shadow of a doubt. We spoke not too long ago, and she was like, she's actually thinking about doing something outside the country, and I'm like, shit, that would be even better,
Right.
even better.
Dope.
Yes,
So you have and you've mentioned her several times, you have a lovely partner, by the
yes,
name of Siphon the Unicorn,
yes.
and, she was the beautiful woman that I saw when you were doing your demonstration, and I remember I was getting ready to leave because I had to leave early, and I said to my niece who was sitting at the table, I said, "Yo, she's dope." I said, "What a lucky woman." That's like so I want you to talk more about her, how you met her, and how having her as your partner, because you're submissive, but she's also your life partner. Having her be a
Yeah,
part of your life has enhanced your life, but also enhanced your business and what you do.
yes. So, I believe in the yin and yang aspect of love, right, and relationships. And if I had to clarify what she is to me, she's everything that I needed, everything that
Mhm,
I wanted, and everything that I did not know I want in a partner. I am a very big, outgoing energy person as it relates to like following my energy, just going with the flow. She's the one that makes sure I get to where I need to go because I won't use a map, right? She's the person that makes sure that I am doing the things and all the boxes are checked correctly because I she gives me the freedom or the safety to feel free.
mhm,
As much as like I spoke about earlier, that we love polarity, right? I'm someone that again loves to go with the flow, but the idea is that there has to be some things that need to be done that I don't immediately find as entertaining. I'm learning to get better at those things.
mhm,
But as far as the way that she's able to contribute to my life is that she keeps me organized.
mm,
I make sure that I stay focused on the things that I'm supposed to do. She supports me, whether it be building the dungeon with me from scratch, and this is two dungeons that we've built so far together, whether it be us making connections and me and her representing me in spaces, lifting me up, making me feel like the king that I wish to be,
mm,
whether it be performing with me on stage, whether it be preparing for the next performance or the next trip or the next party or organizing my calendar or making sure that I just have all the things that I need to be successful, you
mm,
know, and and she thinks about things like I mentioned that I don't even think about that just enhance my life in so many different ways. Not to mention she makes me feel good.
yeah.
She makes me feel free and feel supported and feel slutty and feel responsible and feel powerful and a provider. But I'm also, I like to lay in her nook. I'm the little spoon when I want to, or the big spoon when I need to be. Like all of the things wrapped up in one. But more importantly, she makes me feel comfortable to be myself. You
Mm,
know, I was, as I mentioned, a part of a big part in my raising or coming to who I am today was my sister played a part in that, and she always tried to install in me to find somebody that I could be honest with,
Mm,
because when you come from a place where you feel like you are very sexual, you're very open-minded, you are afraid that you're not going to find somebody that's going to accept you. You
yeah.
feel like you're not going to find somebody that's going to be able to keep up with you or to, you know, just accept you or make you feel safe and wanted or like valuable because we've shunned pleasure in this world in so many different ways.
Mhm.
So to find somebody that's like, no, I like watching you do what you do. So you mean to tell me not only can I tell you what I want to do, but you're willing to watch it and
Mhm.
you like it, and you're proud of me? Oh, oh, oh yes. Yeah. I really want to repeat that one more time. So many of us have a hard time finding people to accept us,
Hmm.
but there are levels beyond exception, right? I don't want to just be accepted. I want to be embraced. I want to
Yes.
be celebrated. I want to be I want to feel like you're proud of me for being who I am,
Mhm.
and that's what she does for me. And that is what keeps me going. That's what keeps me powerful. That's what makes me feel like I can do anything and all things. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
so
And I think what a lot of people don't really, understand is though she is, your submissive, she holds so much power in that position.
yes,
And,
yes,
I think people kinda get that twisted or they get that misconstrued. No, she's a very powerful
yeah.
being. And,
Oh yeah. To expand on that, we was just having a conversation today about me asking for her guidance in with the things that we wish to approach.
mm,
And I said this earlier during our podcast, when we were talking, you and I were talking earlier, I need to know what I'm able to do. I need to know where you want to feel. I'm your travel agent. Tell me what climate you wish to experience.
mhm.
I'll lead us there, but I still need to know what you desire.
Yeah.
I need to know what you consent to. I need to know what you are interested in. I need to know these things so that I can plan accordingly.
Mhm.
So without that, there's no baseline to begin.
Right.
I need you to consent. I need you to be open to it. I need you to be willing to do things. And without that, she's the beginning. It starts with
Mhm.
her and it ends with her.
I love that, and I've told you many times, I truly love what y'all share. Alright, so I did wanna touch on, after I had my experience with you, which
Mhm.
was amazing. I have to come back, whether it be at your dungeon, at your main dungeon, or when you are traveling, I have to, you know the vibes, it's already about to be happening, but
Yes. Mhm.
um, one of the things that I experienced after, my session with you was something that I later came to find was called sub drop,
Yes.
and, so when I was in your dungeon, I'm in what they call subspace. And
Yes, that's
so,
correct.
um, just the endorphins, the dopamine, the senses were all activated. I'm experiencing pleasure multiple times over. And
Yes.
then, boom, next day, got to get on a plane back to Buffalo, back to the blizzard, back to the snow, back to raising my kid. And
Yes.
I was kind of, and then too, I was coming off of my work leave, so I had to return to my job and go back to my
Yes.
full-time job duties, and I went through
Mhm.
such a depression, and,
Mhm.
I think I was also going through depression, but I was also experiencing sub-drop because in my mind, I'm like,
Mhm.
"I wanna be back at the dungeon. I wanna be back in this
Yes.
space. I don't wanna do
Yes.
anything else." And,
Yes.
you kinda helped me, with giving me some things I can do to work through it. My friend,
Yes.
shout out to Mari, the tantric mystic. She really helped
Yes.
talk me through a lot of things, and she gave me some journal prompts and some people to follow. And, I created a playlist that I still listen to from time to time that really helped me kind of work my way out of sub drop and kind of get back
Yeah.
baseline. And so I wanted to
Right.
know, I guess my question is two parts. do you ever go through Dom drop? And as far as like your balance in your life, how much, like, what percent of your life would you say is vanilla and what percentage would you say is kink? Like for me, I feel like I'm
It
80% vanilla and 20% kink right now.
yes.
So, what does Dom drop look like for you and what do you do to kind of restore yourself, and what percentage of your life is kink versus vanilla?
So, so before I go into what Dom drop is for me, and that second part of your question, I wanted to expand on your sub drop and the word
Mhm.
depression that you use. I really loved your explanation of your experience, but I do want to give perspective to those who are listening to say that sometimes the drop comes from the reality hitting you that like you want more of this.
Mm,
So let's say, for example, you're, and this is going to be kind of extreme for those, and this is no shade to anybody that doesn't make a whole ton of money, right? But let's say that you have a very modest job making very modest means, and you go hang out with somebody who has private jets and a mansion and all of this and a
mm,
private chef and all of these things going on in this house. And not only do they have all of these things, but they're doing the exact same thing that you're doing. They're just doing it with a slight difference. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because you notice that it's attainable for you. You may not want a private jet. Let's be clear. You may not want a private jet. Everybody doesn't want to be rich or wealthy per se, but there are certain aspects of the essential things that we want in our lives, or to be able to embrace in our lives that we may not have access to based on our current tax bracket, right? I mention that because when you experience a high level of pleasure and safety and communication, it makes
mm.
you miss that. It makes you want more
Yes.
of that. And that is nothing wrong with that, because that can serve as the motivation you need. There are two different types of people in this world. There are people that see things that and find them motivating, or find them discouraging.
Mm,
Oh, this person was able to accomplish all of this. They're different. They'll use an excuse to justify why that person was able to do those things. But an example I was trying to give you is that this is attainable. You can find someone that is going to go on this journey of exploration with you, that's going to make you feel like you're safe to communicate with them, that's going to make you feel like the queen that you are. It is very much possible, and it's not anything wrong with getting into a space where, like, man, like, you look back at your regular life as it is, and not to say that you are not grateful for the life that you live and the life that you have, but you realize there's a part that I want to add. And moving forward, until I'm able to really embrace that and have it as much as I want, or even remotely close to as much as I want, a part of me is not going to feel whole, you
mm,
know? And that's okay. That's okay, because now you're motivated to feel it. But more importantly, you have a example of what that looks like. You can't acquire something if you don't even know what it is.
mhm.
So many of us, especially my clients, are walking around or coming to me feeling like there's something more that I want. I don't know what it is
Right.
though. Can you show me, sir? And I'm like,
Mhm.
please take my hand. Let me give you a few this looks like,
Yes.
and then moving forward, they're like, nah, somebody got to spank me once a week. Somebody got to cuddle me. Somebody got to
Yes.
worship me. Somebody like, now I know. And once you know, you can manifest. The big three steps to manifestation is asking, believing, and receiving, right? The first part is usually the easiest part. But when it comes to pleasure and how we want to be treated, we don't know what that looks like.
Mm,
We only have an idea. But when you get an illustration of what that looks like and what that feels like, and you can relate to it, you can look back on it, it's easier to manifest that moving forward because you know exactly what you want. Now, to go on to your question about what Dom Drop looks like for me, um, when I first started doing professional sessions with clients, I thought it was just an hourly gig, where I would be working with the client for a certain amount of hours. I would need to clean the dungeon and prepare for the dungeon and reset the dungeon and clean the dungeon again. And however many hours that took, that's how many hours I needed. And that's how
mm,
many hours of work that my body would take on. But when it comes to energy, it
mm,
is beyond physical energy that we are able to measure, right? It moves into spiritual energy. And I've learned over the years, as my sessions have become more powerful, more tantric, more energy revolving, um, and evolving. Uh, that I'm left feeling really depleted after a certain amount of sessions,
Mhm.
after a certain amount of experiences. And it's important that I prioritize my energy and how I refill myself.
Mhm.
And for me, I like to be life too. I like to be encouraged. I like to, you know, um, to feel appreciated, and part of my aftercare, believe it or not, is reading the reviews. So look at this. You see this? Hey, I like it. I like it. This was a gift from my assistant, and definitely one of the most personalized gifts that I've ever received. And this is, if you can't read it, it's a book of the reviews.
Mhm.
I didn't realize that was something I was doing until I realized it. I like the reviews because I feel appreciated. It's one thing to be somebody that does nice things for other people or great things for other people and enjoy that, and you get the pleasure from that, but it's also the reaction that you get from a person, the
Mhm.
thank you, the gratitude that you gives you, that makes you feel like it was all worth it to see a smile on somebody's face. But if somebody just takes something and they're just taking, and you don't feel like no level of appreciation is being reciprocated, it makes you feel taken advantage of.
Mhm.
And though the work has already been done and the energy has been, put out there, now all of a sudden it seems to hurt more when you don't
Mhm.
feel appreciated.
Yeah.
So and as crazy as it sounds, not only do I want to be appreciated by the client that I'm actually currently working on, but I want to be appreciated by the people that know what it is that I do,
Mhm.
because I truly feel like I'm doing a service to the world. There are so many people that are literally blessed and healed, and I got to be more unapologetic with using these words because it's true. It's coming from their mouths, not mine,
Mhm.
that really feel like, they're being restored to some degree or being healed or being helped or being, by the work that I'm doing. And you can't just find me in Walmart. You
Right.
can't find me where I'm not easy to, like, what I do is not easy to find.
Mhm.
It's not easy you know what I'm saying? As it relates to commodities, I'm extremely valuable. It's not
Yes.
many of me,
Mhm.
you know, and to know that I'm looked at as that valuable person, you know, that makes me feel good to know that I'm not going unseen. This is my thing, I use the analogy of basketball, the LeBron Jameses of the world, or the Michael Jordans of the world, or whatever other sport there is out there. I know that they love basketball, but I also know that they equally love hearing that crowd cheer.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
it's also, that they love being celebrated when everybody runs up to them after they make that winning shot. I
Mhm.
don't get that opportunity because I'm not a basketball player, but there is a variation of that I get when my partner says, "Good job. You did
Yeah.
it. You've been killing it. I'm so proud of you. You are
Mhm.
fucking amazing. Nobody is like you.
Mhm.
You're incredible. You are so fucking powerful. How did you come up with that by yourself?"
Yeah.
Like that is aftercare for me.
Yeah.
That is me being reminded that it's all worth it. You
Mhm.
understand? Looking at this, I told you we was looking at the video earlier, and I'm looking at me using a sword that has electricity on it, and I'm rubbing it across her body. And I said to us out loud, I said, I thought of that by myself.
Right.
You
Mhm.
understand? And
Mhm.
and 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 then, for that to be recognized as amazing, it makes me feel good and it gets me excited to try to do something more, to think of the next thing.
Mhm.
You know, appreciation is my aftercare, and words of affirmation is my aftercare. Being taken care of is my aftercare. I love receiving pleasure in the realm of getting my dick sucked. Yes.
Mhm.
So I love that. I mean, and see, do you see how I had to sugarcoat that for a second? Because I felt like it might be a little bit inappropriate to say, but no,
No, but it's real.
I love getting my dick sucked. I
Mhm.
love words of affirmation. I love feeling appreciated. I love feeling seen. I love feeling valuable. I love being touched and
Mhm.
celebrated for the wins, you know.
Yes.
LeBron James and them or whomever wins the championship, they get a whole fucking parade, yo.
Right,
They get a
right.
whole parade. The whole city comes out and celebrates them.
Mhm.
You understand? But there are people that get signed to the NBA every day. As crazy and as hard as it is to get signed to the NBA, there are many NBA players and there are many championship winners, but there are not many Sir Marvelouses.
Yes.
You know,
Absolutely. When I
I
first
deserve my
met
vote.
you,
Mhm,
after I had my session with you, um, and we were having our debrief and everything, I told you, and I'll say it now in front of everybody and all my listeners, because I truly mean it, is what you do is so unique, it's so niche. It's not anything people would think of necessarily off
mhm,
the top of their head doing, even as a form of self-care, as a form of liberation, as a form of self-love. And that's everything it was for me. And
mhm,
and I appreciate you for that, because it's what I didn't know that I needed, especially at that
mhm,
point in my life. Because I did feel powerful, I did feel sexy, I did feel desired, I did feel cared for,
mhm.
especially being someone in life who, like most women, are taking care of everybody else. And to be
Yes, yeah.
in this space and in this place for, X amount of hours and not having to do nothing. Literally, like, I had to do nothing but sit there and take what was coming to me, and I took it all gladly. And and I appreciate you for that. So, I'm glad that, because that was something I thought about even when I was going through my sub drop. I'm like, I hope he's okay. And I think I did ask
Yeah.
you if you were okay while I was
Yeah,
there,
no, no,
but
you constantly check in. You definitely constantly check in on me, and I
yeah,
tell you that I say, thank you so much. Thank you.
absolutely. Listen, I will to the hilltops. I'll tell anybody about you. After I was done, I was telling everybody, because I'm like, this is y'all can't miss out on something like this. And with you, it was such an experience. But and now that second part of the question, what percentage of your life would you say is kink versus vanilla?
Woo, I would say 70-30. 70
Okay.
being kink, 30% being vanilla. I talk about pleasure, what I do everywhere, short of places that are filled with children.
Right.
But, you know what I'm saying? Anywhere else, if it's adults, if you really claim to be a part of my circle and you my homie or my friend or my family, it ain't before long before something, even if in the context of a joke, and I only hang out with people that make me feel comfortable, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And make me like myself. I may not be doing kink, but best believe even the jokes like I be playing chess with my friends and they know what it is that I do. So our trash talking somehow comes out as some kinky, like, shit. You know what I mean? Because we us as black folk, we love to talk shit. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So it's always some variation of like, yo, you ain't gonna be trying all that kinky shit over here. Like, whatever. I don't know. I can't even really explain it, but like it's a good time. It's always a good time. And so I would say 70-30. But that
Mhm.
30 is still heavy. That 30 is still big in my opinion, even though on
Yeah.
a pie scale looks small. But there's still a lot I do within that 30, but I don't like to go anywhere because again, part of my mission is to take the taboo-ness out of the word kink, take the taboo-ness
Mhm.
out of the word sex, take the taboo out of the word pleasure.
Mhm.
We all have to engage in it. Again, as long as we're talking to adults, we're not being inappropriate around children or being
Mhm.
inappropriate in times that we're not, that's not the time, space, or place for that.
Mhm.
Who doesn't, who can't relate to wanting to experience pleasure or wanting to learn about more pleasure or variation of that,
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. So I have a few more questions, like literally four, so that
okay.
we can wind down. I want to give you an opportunity because I
Yes.
know that you are an avid chess player.
Yes.
And so I want to give you the floor to nerd out about chess. How, like, when you started playing, when you knew you transitioned from someone who plays chess to a chess player, and how chess
Oh,
really informs so much of your life.
so, great question. I've never been asked that. Thank you so much for knowing me enough to know that. To pay attention because I do talk about chess a lot, but if nobody piggybacks off of it, they won't know how
Mm,
important it is, right? Um, I've I've been playing chess since I was in 6th grade. I wasn't very good at the game. I got good at the game around 21, 22 years old. And the reason I say that is because as much as I loved and enjoyed the play, I always was losing. I always chess has a way of making you feel like you're right there. It's like the ultimate scratch off as far as it relates to lottery, right? You know, it's always like you need 3 sevens to win $1 million. I'm gonna give you two.
Right.
And you just feel like I 7 away from winning that $1 million, right? And chess has a way of making you feel that way. When you lose in chess, and you never feel like you were obliterated by anybody. You just feel like you were so close. So for many, many years, I was playing and feeling like I was getting closer and closer to beating people. But the problem was I wasn't using proper strategy. When I was 21, 22 years old, I ran into a guy playing chess by himself, which I thought was interesting, and reading a book while he was doing it.
Mm,
And I went over to ask him about it, and he shared a book with me called Chess Every Move Explained Move by Move. And he told me about the book. He told me I should get it. I went and I got the book as soon as I could. I read it, and my fucking brain opened up. Like I felt like the neurons were firing. Like I could see, you know how you have those movies where you just see the brain expand, and you all these
mhm.
different things. You could just see it illustrated, right? That's how I felt when I read that book. I was like, I've been doing it all wrong. I've been moving the pieces right, but my strategy has been all wrong. There are things that guide us in chess that teach us how to have a good game. There's a principle in chess that's called developing your pieces. So when you
Mhm.
first start a chess game, all your pieces are starting in their starting position. You need to get every one of your pieces, not your pawns. That's another thing. Pieces are not pawns. That's something people don't understand. You need to get all of your pieces from their starting position onto where they are actually on the chessboard playing and able to be used. So an analogy that I would use is if this was a basketball game, imagine both instead of both teams starting on the court, they're both starting on the bench,
Mhm.
and everybody has to run to the court and start playing versus when a basketball game typically begins, everybody's on the court, they're waiting for the ball to go up and come down. But no, in chess everybody starts on the bench. So if there's one or two players still on the bench tying their shoe or hanging out or like, bro, the game is here, you need to be
Right.
over here. You need to be being used at this moment because you being on the bench doesn't benefit us at all. So it's the same thing developing pieces, and you'll be surprised how having one player left in the back will actually mess up your game. And we get so caught up on using our favorite pieces. That's what I used to do before I learned strategy. I had favorite pieces, and all I need is this. Or I used to say stuff like, "All I need is my knight and my pawn and my rook, and I'll be all right." No, you have to use everybody. And
Mhm.
if you're using 5 chess pieces and that person is using 6 is always going to win under the same circumstances that everybody's doing everything right. It's
Mhm.
just a numbers game. You have more players playing for you than your opponent, and you can check in throughout the game. How many people am I using? Am I using everybody, or am I focusing on just the pieces I like or the strategy I have in place? I need to think about both sides of the board and things of that nature. So that's one of the principles in chess that really made my game better, understanding the value of using all of my pieces, not just my favorite ones.
Mhm.
You know, and that kind of expands to like life too, and especially the way that I explore kink. I try to use a lot of different things, to give different experiences, to make things a journey, to make you appreciate when that thing that is your favorite comes back around, because life or our psyche has a way of not appreciating something if we get too much of it.
Mm.
Remember how we spoke about people getting in relationships and getting comfortable because I've been with you for a while? But when
Right.
I first met you, that new relationship energy was high. I couldn't I smiled and I felt so great around you, but now I've been with you for many years and it's just like I kind of take you for granted.
Mhm.
So it's important that we don't just use what we love so much, or we don't get too much of what we love only. We have to spread it out a little bit, and that's what I do. And kink, yes, you might like that vibrator on your clit, but I'm not going to leave it there the entire time.
Mhm.
I'm not going to start with it. You think, as soon as you think it's going to happen, it may not happen. I'm going to do some other things, and you're going to be enjoying those things. But I'm going to give you enough to like it, and then I'm going to take it away from you because I'm going to
Mhm.
play on that psyche part of it. I'm using all of the strategies that I can think of to make this experience good. Um, the last thing I would love to say about chess is that I mentioned this on another podcast. I taught chess for many years, and I love the idea of sharing with people things that they thought would not be interested into them in the beginning. I taught chess. I used to go in, I ran my own chess company, and I would go in schools in the inner cities, and I would promote that I'm starting a chess program. Or obviously, the school have already hired me, so now it's time to recruit the kids to come to my class because they have to choose an elective, and the majority of them do not want to do chess right off the back because they thought it was a boring game. What they knew of it was boring,
Mhm.
similar to how people think BDSM is crazy and it's not my thing and I'm not into it because of what I've seen of it doesn't seem like something I would enjoy. So you can see the commonalities and how I love the idea of promoting something that you may not care to do right away. And I learned that that is the true art of seduction. I
Mhm.
recently learned that by watching a TED talk, the true art of seduction is convincing someone to see things from a different lens.
Mm.
So, example of seduction isn't me walking into a bar and you already thinking I'm handsome, you already thinking I'm charming, you already thinking I'm amazing, and I ask you for your number or to go out on a date, and you're like, "Yeah, I didn't seduce you.
Mhm.
I didn't seduce you." But if I walked into that same bar and you had no interest in me, you looked at me and you was like, "Not my type," and then you learned some things about me,
Mhm.
and you go, "Wow, we have a lot in common." Really? You like that too?
Right.
Wow. Like, and now you go on this journey of like, man, I'm sorry. I did not, I'm sorry I judged the book by its cover
Mhm.
versus, and now you feel more bonded with that person. You feel more connected with that person. And that is what seduction feels like. When I teach someone chess, I am taking them through that same, experience of like, yo, I didn't know chess could be this fun. When I seen it on television, it was boring, it was slow, it looked like you had to be a nerd or a brainiac in order to be good at the game. Like, no, I could teach anybody how to play chess in under an hour. Under an
Mhm.
hour. Give me 30 minutes and we're gonna be playing on the chess clock, moving really, really quickly, having a good time and all of that because I'm an awesome teacher. I
Mhm.
like to move quickly. I like to talk junk. I like to move on the timer. Um, I like to listen to music. I like to have food. I like to have all the things. It's a party when we play chess. You know what I'm saying? You come to the chess park where we play, you won't know if without looking at the board, you won't know if it's dominoes or spades based on the way that we're talking, moving, and having so much fun. Because
Right.
it's never a moment at the chess park. It's
I think I saw a video
big.
of you. You was tearing up some rice
Yeah.
in one hand
Yes. Yes.
and playing chess in the
Uh-huh.
other. I'm like, that's
Yeah. Like
impressive.
yes. So it's a vibe, you know what I'm saying? And people need to see that that can exist, And I'll end this by saying, my very first chess tournament that I've ever played in, um, I won $1,300 for winning first place in the beginner section.
Mhm.
So, and I say that to say that chess isn't limited by age. So beginner section doesn't mean 7-year olds, 8-year olds, 12-year olds, 15-year old. It's like, is this your first tournament? Well, you play with them. And
Mhm.
I was playing against adults that were in their 50s, 60s. I was playing against young kids that was 10 years old, 13 years old, 20 years old. It doesn't matter if they put you in a section based on how many tournaments you've played thus far.
Mm.
And trust me, I lost to some kids, I lost to some adults as I, progressed in more tournaments and things of that nature. But I say that to say, it could have been a 10-year-old kid that took home that $1,300.
Yeah.
And it very much has been in so many different experiences, especially, and that's one of the things that I did to inspire my chess teams to promote or to pitch them chess. I don't say, do you guys want to learn chess? I say, do you guys have a chess team yet?
Mm.
That's my opening statement. Do you guys have a chess team yet? Either answer goes in my direction.
Yeah.
Because if you tell me yes, to make it better. If you tell me no, let's get started. And
Mhm.
then when I leave, when I start, yes, we're here to teach you chess, but no, I'm here to build a team so we
Mhm.
could go and kick some ass. You understand? And when we get
Yeah.
there, we're gonna take home not only the trophy, but we're gonna take home some money. And trust me, when you tell a 12-year-old kid that they could possibly win dollars
Right.
plus the trophy, plus the bragging rights, I'm
Mhm.
down. And we get to travel and like what? Oh, versus, like again, I'm not comparing it to like sports because sports have its own value. But a lot of the times they're not winning cash. They
Mhm.
might win a trophy. They're definitely doing the traveling. It's a great experience, but you give a kid well, the first time I was able to hand a young man $600 check, a 12, 13-year-old kid, a $600 check for
Wow.
winning first place. The parents was like, keep playing chess. You
Uh-huh.
play chess. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
the trophy, it's a vibe. It's a
that's a
vibe.
fact.
So it's so much that people don't know that exists in the world of chess that I really want to make more and more popular. So
Mhm.
I'll land my plane there as it relates to my chess stuff.
Okay. And, I just completed your coaching program, which, I learned so much. Everything I learned was very valuable. I learned so much, about myself. I learned so much about what I want from somebody I am choosing to engage with. And I thank you for kind of walking me through those things. And so, I want you to speak a little bit more about your coaching program and how you go about, um creating and cultivating a curriculum to the individual people or couples who take your course.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak about that. So my coaching program is for anybody who is even remotely interested in learning about kink, BDSM, the lifestyle, how to communicate with their partners as it relates to pleasure or to explore different things. So, a session may or may not be for everyone, but coaching can definitely expand to those who are not able to actually do a session or a little bit too afraid. I believe that pleasure should be a priority. And it's easy to understand other things as priority. I tell you to prioritize your health. Nobody argues with me. Prioritize your finances. Nobody argues with me. Prioritize your family and your
Mhm,
children. Nobody argues with me. And they know what that looks like. That means making sacrifices. That's what it means. When you prioritize something, I cannot go out this weekend because I got to pay mortgage or rent this month or
mhm,
right now. This check is for the bills. So you're sacrificing the things you may want to do to take care of the things that you have to do. But when it comes to pleasure, nobody wants to make a sacrifice to make it better.
right,
Nobody wants to do the hard work of learning what it is to have those conversations. If it's too easy, I'm not saying things can't be entertaining, but if at no point in time you don't feel any opposition as it relates to like, man, I don't want to be doing this, but I'm doing this for the greater good,
mhm,
then maybe you're not doing enough.
right,
So taking on a coaching program like myself gives you the opportunity to have those conversations that are going to be both entertaining and a little bit uncomfortable and a little bit outside of your normal type of conversation and get you to open and look at things a little bit differently. The way
mhm,
that I'm able to structure my program is I try to make sure everything is tailored to that person. So, whether a person is doing a session with me or simply a coaching program with me, I'm still going to give you the same BDSM quiz because I truly believe that taking quiz or questionnaires, especially like the one that I recommend, it has a way of asking questions that you may have never been asked before.
yeah,
And they ask it in ways that it could seem like the same question, but it's totally different. It's
mhm,
one thing to say, would you ever like to be tied up or would you ever like to tie somebody up? And
mhm,
there are two answers for both. There's not just one, right? So, and then there are other, deeper or more abstract, or I should say taboo or alternative types of questions that again, in a normal conversation, somebody may not have the courage to ask.
mhm,
Hey, I watched this movie where somebody was acting like a puppy.
mm,
Somebody might not have the courage to bring that up in conversation because the minute that the other person hears that, they're gonna like, yeah, that's hilarious. Who would ever want to be a puppy?
mm,
And guess what? You just shut them down. Yeah, you're
right,
right. That's so silly. That's so silly. Who would ever want to be a dog? You're right. Who would ever
right,
want to be a who would
yeah,
ever want to be into a bed? You're right. You're right. and you
Mhm.
shut that person down before they get to really finish saying what their full thought was.
Yeah.
And that's what questions do. They give us that space to complete our thought. And at the very end, I get to see a part of you for who and what you truly are if you're giving it your all as far as being honest. So I'm
Mhm.
going to give you that questionnaire so that I can tailor what it is that I want to go over with you to the things that truly interest you. I
Mhm.
was speaking to Siphon earlier today, and I told her my biggest kink is giving people what they want, not what I want.
Mm.
I'll repeat. My biggest kink is giving people what they want, not what I want,
Mhm.
because I have pleasure from knowing that this serves you.
Yeah.
This is what you've always wanted. This is what you've always wished for. This is what you always thought about. This is what you always dreamt about. If I give you what I want, I risk the opportunity of trying something that isn't your thing.
Mm.
And it's not I'm afraid of failure or afraid of everything not going perfect. It's okay. This is something to learn from it, but I don't want to go through that. I want to know what interests you. Like I told you, I'm your travel agent. Why would you not tell me you want to be? I done made you a trip to Alaska.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
understand? You weren't trying. You wanted to be on the beach, enjoying drinks and sitting your feet in the sand.
Right.
But I love snow.
Mm.
I love
Mhm.
snow, and I think snow is beautiful, and I thought you might wanna, you know what I'm saying, experience a colder climate, but you didn't tell me, so I love the idea of not having to, do that.
Mhm.
And then I could plan you a whole trip on a beautiful island that involves the beach, that involves some good drinks, that involves some relaxation, that involves all the things. So that's why, that's how I tailor my coaching program by giving them that quiz, and then we're going to expand on it. We're going to do that consultation that involves us going over, the answers in those quizzes and why you might have came to those answers, whether they be, um, you know, very supportive of the questions or very what seems to be against those questions. I'm not here to convince you to like something you don't like, but I am here to educate you on terms you may not be familiar with.
Mhm.
I am here to educate you on the umbrella terms that you may not be familiar with either,
Mhm.
because so often we say things like, I don't like bondage. I
Mm.
don't like submission. I don't like dirty talk. Because when you think of dirty talk, you think of me calling you a bitch.
Mm.
You think me telling you that you're worthless. No.
Right.
Dirty talk is also, "This pussy feels so fucking good.
Mhm.
Damn, I missed you.
Mhm.
Don't you come mission.
Yep, I love the
Look
way
at me.
you fuck me. Mhm.
I love the way you fuck me."
Mm.
That's dirty talk.
Yeah.
I didn't say the word bitch. I didn't call you worthless. I didn't
Right.
call you ugly. I didn't call you stupid.
Mhm.
So understanding that when you say no to just something off the bat, you are eliminating all the other possibilities. When people say I don't like kink or BDSM, I look at them as them saying I don't like food.
Mhm.
What do you
Right.
mean you don't like?
Mhm.
What do you mean you don't like food? You mean you don't like shellfish? You mean you don't like pasta? You mean you
Mm.
don't like rice? You may not like beans, but there's something you got to eat at some point.
Right.
Whether there has to be something that's going to be satiating to you at some point. It's a lot of shit here to eat in this world. There are a lot
Right.
of things that you eat. Yeah, you've ate some things that you don't enjoy. You may not eat meats. That's
Mhm.
fine. Trust me, there's a lot more options that are going to make you feel satiated,
Yeah.
you know? That's the way I look at it, and that's the way I want people to understand the umbrella terms of things. It's
Mhm.
bondage doesn't only represent one thing. Dirty talk doesn't only represent one thing. Submission doesn't look one way. Domination doesn't look one way.
Mhm.
Tell me how you want to be dominated. Tell me how you want to submit. Tell me how you want to be spoken to. Tell me how you want to experience pleasure, and I'm gonna cater it to that.
Yes, because 'cause I'm telling you what I
Yeah.
learned, and what I liked about it is it wasn't like all kink, it was practical stuff in there too. So when
Yeah.
I was making my gratitude list, it
Yes.
was things I'm grateful for in general, but it's like things I'm grateful for when it comes to sex and kink and that kind of
Yes.
nature. And so I really
Yes.
love how you blended that because
Yes.
we do have to find that balance in life. And that's why I believe um, you know, and you're worth every penny, but it's
Yeah.
priceless at the same time. So,
Thank you.
yes. So y'all hit him up
Thank
for coaching. I'm telling you, it's worth it.
you.
Truly. Um, so I just have a few more questions. So when I came to your
Sure.
dungeon, I don't know if you remember us talking about this, but we talked about our love for the HBO show True Blood.
Yes.
And I wanted to know from you because they had a lot of supernaturals on that show. They had vampires, they had shapeshifters and werewolves
Yes.
and all kinds. Out of all those, if you could be a supernatural, which one would you be?
Vampire, hands down. Are you
Yes.
crazy? Vampire, hands down. I love the seduction part of them. We just started watching an interview with a vampire last night, and
Mhm.
I love how seductive they are, and how they
Mhm.
talk, and how they move, and how they dress, and just the mysteriousness of them all, but also how powerful are they're strong, and they always have a really high libido and a very big sexual
Mhm.
appetite as a whole. I love the idea of how they bite into your skin, and it could be a bite where I'm here to, try to kill you, or I could give you a bite to make you feel intoxicated. I'm just
Yeah.
taking a sip of you. I love the idea of biting into my partner, or like, nibbling on my partner, or them nibbling on me, like, and then the idea that you could get high off my blood.
Mhm.
Oh, that is a metaphor for so much of what I want
Yes.
people to experience when they experience me, you know?
Mhm.
Just that what? Yeah, yeah. But
Yes.
not only can I, and especially if we're talking about the true blood vampires, not only
Mm.
can you get high off I can heal you,
Mhm.
I can
Mhm.
heal, I can make you horny, all of the things,
All of
and
it.
now you crave me,
Yep.
now you crave,
'Cause they was having
now
the
you
sexual dreams
yeah,
after ingesting the
yes,
blood.
yes.
Mhm.
In you now. I'm in you in all the ways that you love and you hate at the same time. Like,
Mm.
what?
I
You
love
know what
that
I'm
you
saying?
said that because that was Sookie when it came to Eric. He tricked her into
Yeah.
drinking blood, which, we're talking about vampires, but
Yes.
consent is important. But,
Yes.
she hated that how much she desired him, and then they eventually ended up kinda
Yes.
getting together briefly and then, but,
Yeah.
spoiler for an old show, if you guys haven't seen it, like, it's on HBO, it's the best show
Good
ever.
show. Yeah.
Because
It's a
you
good
definitely
it's
give
a
me Eric Northman vibes. You're very much with the
yes.
dungeon, with the red and
Yes.
black,
Uh-huh.
with the
Mhm. And
seduction
it's
of it
crazy
all,
because
the power.
when you first started watching the show, or at least what I did, I was like, "Oh, am I Bill?" But then when I saw Eric, I was like, "Nah."
Oh, yeah, you're an Eric.
I was like, "Eric is a beast." He's like, "What?
Right.
What?" I love his chair in the back of his bar, just sitting up
Yes,
there
the
looking over everything.
throne.
And that
Mhm.
big dot, yes, the throne. Oh my God. I was like, oh, that's how if I throw a sex party, which again, people have been asking me to do, and I'm always like, no, no, no. I need a fucking throne sitting over the party. Like, are you kidding me?
Well, I don't
Just
know if you remember, and now I'm about to nerd out over True Blood, but I don't know if you remember
uh,
the origin story of how he got that throne and how they started Fantasia. Fantasia,
no.
remember?
Uh-huh.
They revealed it in the last season.
Oh, I
Um,
didn't watch the oh, I didn't watch the last. You could tell me, you could
I
share it
was
with
gonna
me.
say, do you want me to
Um,
spoil it?
yes, please, please. I'm gonna still watch it anyway.
Okay, so do you remember the girl that worked at their bar, Ginger? She was always the one that was
Yes,
skinny. So
yes.
Eric and Pam worked at a video store. Fantasia used to be a video store. Ginger
Mm,
was attracted to Eric the second she saw him. And so
mm,
she came in with the suggestion that they turn the video store into because
mm,
video stores was becoming obsolete, that they turn it
yeah,
into a bar. And she's like,
right.
you can do this over here, and we can do this over here. And then she brought in this old chair, and they're like, what's that? And she's like, this is where Eric can sit because Eric just sells sex. All he has to do is sit there. Yeah.
Ooh,
Mhm.
that's
That blows your
that's
mind, right?
you pitch me an idea like that, and you like, "You just sit here, sir."
Uh-huh.
I'm golden. I I'm golden.
Right.
Tell me where to sit. It look good. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
you just I love that. I love that. So, yeah.
Dope.
I'm mad I didn't watch the last season yet, but I not yet. When I was keeping up with it, and I was because I was watching it on the air, and one episode a week is just rough,
Right.
and I fell off, but I got to finish that last season because I do need to see how it ended. I got
Mm.
up until the point where Eric's maker died on the roof, and he went into
Oh my
flames or something
gosh,
like.
that's season
Yeah.
2. You got a lot to catch up on. They got
No,
7 seasons.
no, no,
Well,
no, 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 no. No, I got beyond the succubus lady who makes everybody dance. It was a
okay,
couple of
yeah.
things.
That was season 2.
So oh shit. Then maybe I just shit.
Yeah.
I
Oh
got a
my
lot to.
God. I'm overdue for a rewatch. That was my shit. Like
All
when I
right.
went to
I got
Comic-Con.
past the part where Suki got powers. Is that still two?
Okay. So, okay, when Suki was tapping into her Fae powers, that was like
Yeah, when she found out she
season,
was a fairy. She found out she was a fairy. That was beyond season two.
yeah, that was like season
I
3 or 4. So
Okay,
yeah.
good. So yeah, I don't remember what the last thing I seen because it's been years, but I know that I wasn't. I was about to say I know I did a little bit more than two,
Right.
but if I didn't, that's still good because that means I got a lot I could watch and it'll be new and exciting to me.
Yeah. Ah, good times. But yeah, you are such a arrogant vampire. And then I just have one little question I'm just gonna throw out there because I'm like,
Uh-huh.
okay, this can be a thing I ask all my guests. Um,
Mhm.
if you won the lottery, what disguise would you wear to pick up your check?
Oh, I'm going in a sweatsuit.
Yeah?
I'm going in a sweatsuit,
You're not gonna cover your
regular
face?
sweatsuit. I'm not covering my face. I'm going in a sweatsuit. I've always been attracted to looking. I won't say bumming because I don't think a sweatsuit is bumming, but I've always liked having a pocket full of money in a
Mhm.
very like regular outfit.
Right.
I don't want to be dressed up. Obviously, well, in this scenario, because I'm picking up a lottery check for a lot of money, I still want to be discreet. But even when I got paid, like I love not having a haircut when I just got paid.
Mhm.
Knowing that account just got, filled up, so to speak. And I ain't got a haircut. I'm kind of looking rough and I might be underestimated, but I don't know. I don't care because I know I'm good. At any point in time, I can snap my fingers and make that transformation. That only lasts about a day, if that. And then I'm going to the barber shop and putting
Right.
on another night. But I like the idea of like looking like I'm about to do laundry on payday. That's
Right.
just a weird thing.
Okay.
So yes, if I know I'm about to go collect millions, there ain't gonna be no celebration. Imma look regular degular. Regular.
Okay, you ain't worried about people coming at you afterwards once they see your face?
No, no, come after me because 'cause Imma be long gone.
That
Imma be
I
long
know
gone.
that's right. All right, well, before we wrap up, is Siphon in the room with you? Can she hear me?
Yes. Oh, no, well, she's babe, babe, she can hear you.
Okay. No, because I wanted to the last time we talked, and I was telling you how truly, sis, you are truly loved.
Mhm.
You are truly valued. Like, when I was coming out of my session. Oh, hi. It's so nice to meet you. I'm Ty.
Hi.
But I wanna tell you, you are so powerful, you are so loved, you are so admired by me, absolutely. But even, I was telling Sir Marvelous the last time we tried this, is when I was, like, posting pictures, I had posted I think the selfie you and I took when I was done with my session, I was getting ready to get in my, Uber,
Cool.
and someone who I'm friends with on Instagram, she reached out to me in my inbox and she's like, "You went to see Sir Marvelous?" And I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Was Siphon there?" And I said, "No, I
Ah,
want to meet her." She said, "I'm obsessed with her." So,
oh my God.
Right.
Thank
Yeah,
I just wanted to tell you that. I just
yeah.
wanted
you
to
for
tell you
that. Thank you
that.
for that.
You are so loved, you are so valued. And a lot of us women out there, we really do look up to you. I look up to you. So just want to say that.
Thank you for
You're
saying that.
welcome.
I try to tell her that all the time, but I don't think it's kinda like you gotta hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak,
Mm.
Mhm.
because she knows. She's like, "But I don't get it. And barely, I'm like, no, your
I'm
energy
no
is
Sir
flat.
Marvelous. That's
You-
what it is. I'm no Sir Marvelous. He
Mhm,
is incredible. He is talented.
You're
mhm.
siphon the
I'm
unicorn, honey.
supporting him.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, even the name, her name speaks value. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not a regular name at all by any means. And when the world really sees what she has to offer beyond what they've already seen, it's gonna go crazy.
Mhm.
So it's just a matter of time. It's
Yes.
gonna be a beautiful storm, a beautiful storm.
All right. Well,
Thank
before
you.
I close out, is there anyone you want to shout out? And please tell my listeners where they can find out more about you.
So please go to sirmarvelous.com, spelled the way that it sounds, sirmarvelous.com. Sign up for my email list to keep up with all things marvelous. I have a new book out that's called Foreplay 101, which teaches
Mhm.
you 101 ways that you or ideas that you can engage in foreplay. Um, Also, I have the 6 week coaching program that we discussed in this podcast. So, if you're interested in learning anything that relates to kink, pleasure, intimacy, you want some kink homework, or some variations of virtual sessions as it relates to that, please don't hesitate to reach out. But I highly recommend, again, going to sirmarvelous.com because it has all my links. You can find my Instagram there, you can find my explicit content. If you want something to put in your spank bank, believe it, that's there as well. But yeah, sirmarvelous.com is the hub. And the first thing that you need to do when you go there is to sign up for the email list so that you
Mhm.
know whenever I'm announcing anything, releasing something, whatever it may be, you are the first to know. So, yes.
All right. And anyone you want to shout out?
Of course, I want to shout out Mr. Smalley. I want to shout out Siphon the Unicorn. I want to shout out myself because I'm amazing.
Hey.
But yes, my community is there. I don't. This part is always the hardest part for me because I know so many people. We love so many people. We got the Susia community. We got
Mhm.
our HCL community. I mean, it's just so many different people that we connect with and that we love in this world. And the idea of only naming a few and forgetting some, I don't want to even feel like I'm leaving anybody out. But
I
yes,
hear you.
um, I love you all. You know who you are, and I'm always going to continue to promote and push for those people to be seen and heard. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. And then I just have a few closing words and then we can
Yeah,
close out. And I wrote them down because I didn't want to leave nothing out. Thank you so much, Sir Marvelous, for coming on my podcast today. And I could truly say that you have changed my life. And
thank you.
anyone knows me knows that I have been singing your praises since last November. And you coming on my podcast has been such a dream. I thank you for what you do because it's important for the Black and Brown community to tap into their sexuality, their sensuality, and prioritize their pleasure. You are an incredible
Yes,
person. Thank you for your contribution to the culture and to the community. Thank you.
thank you so much. This is like definitely a different experience for me because normally when I'm interviewed by someone or having a conversation on camera with someone, um, they haven't actually got the full experience. I've experienced people talking to me and impressed by what I say, but have a part of them that's like, is it true? Could it be true?
Mm.
I'm not sure if it's true. But you've experienced all the shades, whether it be communicating or excuse me, seeing a session between me and Siphon, to coming to the dungeon, having your own session, to doing my coaching program. You are the ideal example of understanding what and who I am to be able to really formulate an opinion of the work that I do. So hearing you say that, how grateful you are, and acknowledging that, and having such high things to say just makes me feel so honored and appreciated. So thank you again.
You're very welcome. And be talking to y'all soon. Thank y'all for tuning in. Stay
Yeah.
up to date by following me on Instagram. Shout out to my Blerds. Just type in shout out to my Blerds, y'all. There's so many underscores. I don't know how the underscores are configured, but it's there. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Mhm.